Okay, so today we're diving into something pretty intense, like seriously intense.
Intensely intense.
You got it. We're talking about those massive life changes, the kind that just flip everything upside down.
Right, those leap of faith moments.
Exactly. She decided to ditch everything, and hitchhike across the ocean on boats.
Wow. So, like, no planes, trains, or automobiles, just boats.
Boats all the way. But the real journey, the one we're focusing on, started way before she even stepped on a deck.
Ah, the prep work, the behind the scenes stuff.
That's it. And honestly, her prep was as wild as the trip itself. I
Yeah.
mean, have you ever heard of someone cutting out meat, alcohol, and men as, like, training?
Whoa. Okay, that's a new one. Like some kind of extreme self-discipline boot camp.
That's exactly what it sounds like. She
Yep.
called it, like, willpower training or something.
Mm.
It's all detailed in her writings, which is what we're using for this deep dive.
So she was basically prepping her mind for something huge by shaking up her everyday life.
Yeah, and it seems like it really worked. She totally nailed it. But it's interesting, though, because she later eased up on the meat thing, like when she was traveling around Latin America.
Makes sense. You got to be flexible, right? I mean, who knows what kind of food situations you'll find yourself in.
And she eventually went full vegetarian a few years later anyway. So it wasn't about, like, permanent deprivation, more about testing her limits and understanding her own willpower.
It's like she was experimenting with her own ability to commit to something, sort of like a dress rehearsal for the bigger challenge.
Yeah, exactly. A mental and emotional trial run. But then something unexpected happened during this whole prep phase. Her laptop died.
Oh no. Talk about bad timing.
Right. But for her, it was a blessing in disguise.
A blessing. How so?
Well, it forced her to face something a lot of us run from: silence.
Oh, I get it. No more constant distractions, no escaping into the digital world. Just her and her thoughts.
Yeah, and she totally freaked out. I mean, who wouldn't, right? We're so used to noise and distractions. But she was desperate to fill that void.
That's so relatable, though. I know I reach for my phone the second I have a moment of downtime. It's like we're terrified of being alone with our own thoughts.
Exactly. And that's when she turned to a friend, Lara. She actually calls her the weirdo in her writings because Lara actually enjoys solitude.
The weirdo who likes being alone. Now that's ironic.
Totally. But Lara gave her this really simple but kind of crazy advice.
I'm intrigued. Let's hear it.
She told her to spend 1 hour, just 1 hour, lying down, staring at the ceiling, phone completely off, no distractions, just silence.
That sounds, well, honestly, kind of terrifying, like a recipe for overthinking everything.
Oh, it was. Fanny describes it as pure agony. That 1 hour felt like an eternity. Her mind was racing, flooded with negative thoughts and every difficult emotion imaginable. Loneliness, boredom, frustration, fear, you name it, she felt it.
Sounds brutal, like a forced confrontation with all the stuff we try to avoid.
It was. But then something amazing happened. She pushed through that initial resistance, that absolute agony, and suddenly got calm.
Really? Just like that?
Yeah, she describes it like astronauts breaking through the atmosphere, entering the peaceful quiet of space.
That's a powerful image, like reaching a new level of tranquility.
Totally. And it changed her entire outlook. She started craving more quiet, more inner peace. And get this whole experience is what eventually led her to meditate.
Wow. So this forced break from technology, this accidental plunge into silence, set her on a whole new path.
Exactly. But then came the next massive hurdle, telling her mother about the trip.
Ah, yeah. Family dynamics. Always a wild card, especially with a trip as big as this.
Right. And to make matters worse, it was 2 weeks before Christmas. Her mom had just gone through a divorce and was really fragile. Fanny was terrified of making things worse, of her mom, falling back into depression.
Understandably so. It's like this double pressure of chasing your own dreams while worrying about the impact on your loved ones.
Yeah. And she felt super guilty, like she was abandoning her mom at a time when she needed her most. But Fanny also knew she couldn't keep sacrificing her own happiness. In her writing, she talks about needing to burn the bridges behind her to really commit to this trip.
That's heavy stuff. It sounds like she felt trapped, like she had to make a clean break to finally prioritize herself.
Yeah, and you can feel the tension in her description of actually telling her mom. It starts casually, her mom asking about January plans, and boom, Fanny drops the bombshell.
Oh man, I bet that car ride got real quiet real fast.
It did. Her mom was composed at first, but then when they got home, the emotions hit. Full force.
That's so real. Like sometimes you can hold it together for a while, but then it all comes pouring out.
Exactly. And later, Fanny admits she hadn't even told her mom about everything she'd been going through, like her own struggles with mental health, even suicidal thoughts.
Wow. So she was carrying all that weight on her own, trying to protect her mom from more pain.
It's heartbreaking. But this whole experience with her mom sparked a huge realization for Fanny. It's like she finally understood that her happiness couldn't depend on external things, on other people, on specific circumstances.
Like she had to take control of her own well-being.
Exactly. She realized happiness was an internal decision, something she could choose regardless of what was happening around her.
That's a big shift in thinking, from being reactive to proactive about your own happiness.
Right. And this new understanding fueled some intense conversations with her mom. There were tears, breaks, accusations of abandonment. It was rough.
That sounds incredibly draining.
It was. But Fanny started talking about this idea of filters, how they shape our perception. She realized her mom was seeing everything through a lens of sadness and pain from the divorce. So naturally, Fanny's decision felt like a personal attack.
It's like those times when you're super hungry and suddenly you notice every single restaurant you pass. Or when you're feeling down, it seems like everything that could go wrong does.
That's a great way to put it. Our emotional state, our past experiences, it all colors how we see things. And Fanny, she was desperate to explain her perspective. She even said, "How could I help to uplift others if I'm drowning? How could I be of value if I hate myself? How could I add to the lives of others if I was going to take my own?"
That's incredibly powerful. It gets to the heart of the importance of self-care.
Yeah.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. And that leads to the most pivotal sentence in their entire conversation. Fanny says, "I'm not doing this against you. I'm doing this for me."
It's so simple but so profound. No blame, no accusations, just a clear statement of her own needs.
Right. And it challenges this whole idea that putting yourself first is selfish. Fanny even questions that directly. She's like, why is it wrong to prioritize my well-being? Why am I the bad guy for choosing my own happiness?
It's a really valid question, and one that a lot of people, especially women, are often made to feel guilty for asking.
Absolutely. And she uses that analogy of putting on your own oxygen mask first on a plane. Like you can't help anyone else if you're struggling to breathe yourself.
Makes perfect sense.
And finally, her mom starts to get it. She sees how much pain Fanny's in and understands that this trip isn't out of spite, but out of necessity. It's actually Fanny's attempt at survival.
That must have been a huge relief for Fanny to finally feel heard and understood.
It was. And she's brutally honest about what she needs. Quiet space, time, joy, freedom, no expectations, no contact. She felt completely suffocated by her life.
Wow. That's a powerful image.
Yeah. And she talks about how terrifying it was to let go of everything familiar, to know her entire world was collapsing and she had to build a new one from scratch. It's like this lonely, disorienting space between realities.
I can only imagine.
And in that moment of uncertainty, the only thing she had was faith. Just pure faith that this leap into the unknown was the right thing to do, even if it was painful and scary.
So she basically had to surrender to the unknown and trust that she'd figure it out along the way.
Exactly. And it's worth noting, this is just the beginning of her journey. After this whole internal roller coaster, she heads to France to meet up with Lara. They spend Christmas together, and then they're off to the Canary Islands to find a boat.
Wow. So all this internal work, all this emotional turmoil, it was just the pre-show to the main event.
It was. And it makes you think, right, like, have you ever had to make a decision that was primarily for your own good, even if it caused friction with the people you love? And how did your own filters, your own emotional state, and maybe even their filters shape that whole experience?
It's definitely something to consider, like how much are we letting external factors dictate our happiness? And how can we prioritize our own well-being without feeling guilty or selfish?
Big questions.
And ultimately, that's what Fanny's story really highlights. Sometimes the biggest adventures, the most life-changing journeys, begin with a deep dive into ourselves.
Truer words have never been spoken.
And that's our deep dive for today.